Acharacle is on the River Shiel at the south end of Loch Shiel before it flows into the Atlantic, and it's at the eastern edge of the Ardnamurchan Peninsular. Two options for me to get there. I decided to go via Fort William as I needed to top up on food and diesel. However, I did come back by the shorter Corran ferry route. Either way, I still managed to smash my passenger side wing mirror against a branch whilst avoiding a lorry wing mirror. I was lucky enough to get a pitch at the newly opened Loch Shiel campsite, a perfect example of how keeping it simple can be a winner. As always, all the walks start and finish at the camper van, and this first one goes from the campsite to Tioram Castle, along the often precarious and precipitous Silver Walk, and then back over the mountain to the campsite. At the A861 it's a right turn, and after about 100 metres there's a left turn which is signposted to Dorlin. A short distance through the wood and there's a gate on the left leading to a bridge which overlooks a river basin with several choice fishing spots by the looks. Back to the road and you get the chance to appreciate the basin in all its glory. After a short while the road rejoins the River Shiel with the hamlet of Shielfoot opposite the small gauge house which is used to measure the river depth on the east bank. Given the option of walking along the road or next to the river at the White Gate, I chose the river. The river opened out into the estuary with the castle visible in the distance. And just for information, there's a little craft gift shop at the end of the row of houses. Back up to the road, and at Gardener's Cottage I took the old track on the right down to the car park. Then it was just a short walk to the sandbar that joins the island to the mainland. Fortunately the tide was out at this point, so I crossed over to take a look at the castle. Castle Tioram was apparently a stronghold of Clan Ranald, controlling access to Loch Shiel, and was torched in 1715 in the Jacobite uprising. By luck I made my way back across the sandbar just as the tide was coming in, and then followed the beach around to the start of the Silver Walk. I reckon the first 500 metres of the Silver Walk should carry a bit of a health warning. At times the trek is about 2 feet wide with a drop to the sea and overhanging cliffs. Also you need to watch out for the tide as part of the track is underwater in a high tide. Personally I wouldn't do this walk in bad weather as the rocks would be slippy, but that's just me. I didn't film the more challenging bits as I was managing my vertigo, but here's a look at the easy bits. So this walk was only about 12.5 kilometres long, and it took me about 4.5 hours including visiting the castle, but it felt like a good 20-kilometre workout. At the cairn I left the Silver Walk and started walking up the hill. Somehow, some way, I lost the path going through the homestead and ended up on a trail to the right, but fortunately it rejoined the path at a cairn at the top. However, there was a bit more climbing to do to get to the ridge and the third cairn. Over the ridge and then the two small lochs were in sight. The path descends to the right of the first loch and to the left of the second, and then it continues until it joins the track for the television antenna. Then it was back to the road, and then it's only about 400 metres to get to the turn for the campsite. This second walk was 19 kilometres there and back, but with a maximum elevation of around 50 metres, it wasn't too demanding, and a very pleasant way to spend 5 hours in the fine Scottish weather. So from the campsite road it was a left turn onto the A861, across Shiel Bridge, and then a quick look at the church before taking the B8044 towards Kentra. So the walk's very straightforward. It passes along the south side of Kentra Bay, then through the woods to Singing Sands Bay, and back. On the B8044, which crosses the marsh, I took the left turn to Arivegaig. There was a nice breeze which kept the midges away, but unfortunately it wasn't so effective against the horseflies, which are quite happy to sting you through a t-shirt. Past the tractor and down to the car park at the bridge over the River Baith. This is a really pleasant spot, no overnight camping, and whilst the car park was empty here, it was packed and stacked when I walked back. Over the bridge, and an indication of how exciting Singing Sands can be. It was a steady walk around the edge of Kentra Bay, and it was the first time I've seen power lines in seawater, but we live and learn. There's a pleasant little bay at Gorteneorn where you can still see the original footbridge, and there's also a ford still in evidence to cross the river. Around the corner and up the hill into the forest. Whilst the marsh is plagued with midges and horseflies, the forest was home to thousands of dragonfly, which was significantly more pleasant. Look out for the signs for the beach, taking the right-hand track down the hill and past the final reminder not to hit any metal objects you find with a rock. And then you're at Singing Sands, which is a glorious hideaway of sandy beaches. And whilst I didn't hear any singing from the sands, it was a top spot for my lunch before heading back. Walking back was the same in reverse, although at Arivegaig I took the track on the right instead of the road, as I wanted to check out the start of the walk to Loch and Glenborradale, which I intend to attempt on my next visit. This track comes out by the school in the village, and then it's just back on the A861 and back to the campsite. This third walk was a late afternoon saunter along the road through Kentra to the picturesque bay and slipway at the excellently named hamlet of Gobshealach. It was a mere 13 kilometres on the flat, and it took me about 3 hours there and back. There's also another campsite at Ardto further on from the slipway, but that was it for me. An excellent 2 days walking in Acharacle. 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 Acharacle.